What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking about the best ways to increase your Essence Mastery system. I'm going to go through basically all to most of the ways in the game, but I will specify which ones are a little bit better and why some of the things are on the list. Because honestly, all of these methods are great, but some of them are not all the time. Some of them are one-time completion, some of them are time gated, and some of them you're just getting more value for your account. But there are some ways that are pure legendary item gains, which we'll talk about all of it. So be sure to watch the whole video. Now, before I jump into that, I want to mention something really quickly. The other day, I mentioned the Essence Mastery system and talked about potentially 60% damage increase. This was because I was speculating basically level 10 because, well, based on some articles and some of the data mine, it seemed like level 10 is going to be something that they're striving for. At least that was my interpretation of it. I should have specified this in the video because a lot of people mentioned that the level 4 is the cap, and this is 100% true. That's the once you get to level 4, it basically says max here. So that's the cap. But regardless, there's a ton of stats to be gained from the Essence Mastery system. So you do want to be able to do this as soon as possible, in my opinion, while not hindering the overall experience of your game. Meaning you're going to want to double up on things that you can do. For example, set item grinds, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But you're going to want to make sure you're getting your legendary items as fast as possible in general, right? Not just for the Essence Mastery system, but specifically to max out all the stat gains that you're going to get from this, because they are massive, right? We're talking, at least of the current moment, a 24% damage increase for a lot of these skills. It depends on what class, right? But we're talking about like 5% cooldown reduction, 24% damage increase. So you're going to want to max it as soon as possible. With that being said, let's jump into the first thing, which is kind of the prerequisites or the things that I'm going to think about while doing all these methods, and that will help you gather more legendary items. The first thing is quite obvious. That's Treasure Hunter. This guy, this Paragon tree has really amped up in importance. It is, in my opinion, the de facto best Paragon tree. It has been for the entire game, in my opinion, but only now since they changed it to where it's usable in every game mode, right? You could use it outside of the outdoor areas. Before, this used to say 50% extra gold from monsters in outdoor areas, 50% increased equipment drop rate from elite monsters in outdoor areas. This one has always increased XP, so you're going to get a little bit of XP increase as well. But this turns into 75% increased equipment drop rate and gold drop rate, which is incredibly important in every game mode, specifically dungeons and open world farming. But it's also great in Elder Rifts. That's another thing that people don't consider, but you're definitely going to want to run this in Elder Rifts. So both those areas, or all three of those areas, are very important for Treasure Hunter, and you're basically going to want to max this out at least to 54 points. The globe drop rate isn't that important because it doesn't affect XP, but the other ones are important. So you're definitely going to want to put those points in and run this basically 90% of your PvE open world farming. So super important here. I do want to mention that this is probably not magic find. What I mean by that is it probably increases the total drop rate. We can't really predict how Treasure Hunter affects the game compared to magic find. It's hard to do that math because we don't know at all what magic find does. I guess I shouldn't say that. We have a speculation, but we don't know 100%. Therefore, it's hard to determine what Treasure Find does and Treasure Hunter does in terms of actually affect the game. We're talking about increased drop rate, so definitely going to want to run that. And of course, gold is incredibly important, which we're going to go over later on in the video. Next up, I would recommend running Vanquisher, at least getting into these deeper inventory rows, the deeper pockets here. This is going to help you not back as often, and especially if you're looking for those upgrade materials, upgrade levels for your pieces on your legendary items, you're definitely going to want to run this so you don't cap out on your inventory and have to back all the time. Nice quality of life thing. And then also the last thing, which is a little bit more pay to win, is going to be magic find. This is something that you're going to want to focus on, especially if you're someone that is looking to overall just increase the viability of your open world farming. Increasing damage, yes, that is great, and yes, you should be doing that. But to be honest, damage, really, if you increase your damage, you might shave off like a 0.0 seconds, like half a second for killing someone, maybe less than that. Whereas magic find is going to, increase the chances for anyone that has killed an enemy in your party. So this is definitely way more worth it in a lot of scenarios, which is why I stick with 90% magic find. So if you guys have, or if you're a free to play player, you guys can maybe reach that 30% magic find or 40% magic find. depending on how long and how hard you've grinded. And if you're running multiple accounts, who knows what you guys are doing out there, right? So Magic Find is going to be another way to increase the legendary drop rate. So that's going to be it for the prerequisites. Let's go ahead and jump into the first method, which, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the best method for overall account progression, especially when you swap over to a new Hell difficulty, which we're just about to enter. So those of you that are stuck on Hell 7, stuck on Hell 6, or not Hell 7, but stuck on Hell 6, stuck on Hell 5, you might be increasing your combat rating and getting the next difficulty, and dungeons are the absolute best way to increase your combat rating when you've reached those thresholds. Now, they've recently buffed dungeons, which is why I've decided to put this on the list, because Treasure Hunter now works everywhere, as I mentioned. Orange elites now spawn in dungeons. So we have a lot more orange elites and a lot more legendary items in total in dungeons, right? So this is a very, very important way to get combat rating, not just from set items, but from legendary items as well. Now, it's not the absolute best way to get legendary items, but it is a very good way to progress your account overall. And you're definitely going to want to make sure you're doing dungeons. Now, the dungeons that I recommend here, personally, there's quite a few of them. Obviously, this boosts not only set and legendary drops, people are set items, but it also boosts legendary drops. People don't actually read this last part. The boosted dungeons actually drop more legendary. So boosted dungeons obviously are going to be the best way to go ahead and go about this, assuming the set items are good for you. But overall, Mad King's Breach is always a favorite of mine. Kakuras Rapids, you can actually be pretty lazy and finish it off pretty quickly. Temple of Namari, kind of the same way. There's a lot of areas of the game, but basically, you're going to want to go ahead and basically cash in on as many dungeons as possible, especially when you swap over the Hell difficulty. Next one up is going to be open world, and this is going to be the largest category because there's so much things to talk about, so many spots to talk about, and one of the reasons why is because best way is going to be group farming, right? You're going to want to group farm. You're going to want to make sure you have Treasure Hunter active. You're going to want to pick up all those legendary items. Bestiary is one of the best ways to acquire legendary items, and the only way you can improve that or get your bestiary completed is through the legendary open world farming. So you're going to want to open world farm as much as you possibly can. This is if you're exclusively looking for legendary items and you don't really care about anything else on your account, you're going to want to do this. This is the best, absolute best way, consistently best way to get legendary items, excluding some one-time events or time-gated things. So basically, there are some things that you can do every once in a while that are going to give you a lot of legendary items, but this is going to be the most consistent, guaranteed way to get legendary items. Oftentimes, the benchmark is around 3 legendary items per hour. I've oftentimes been able to get a lot more than that because of my higher magic find. But based on the open world farming spot that you're going to go to, you can get higher legendary items. Now, the ones that I personally favor are going to be the ones that I'm able to multitask while doing it. So, areas in the library like the Four Corners farm, in the Biofin area, we're talking the ship farm. Those ones are really good. There's also a few other ones that people don't really know about. And I might make a full video on this, but Queen Asila's Tomb is actually very, very good for, not necessarily moving around too much. In the Sharsar Sea, and not the one that normally people know about, but the Chamber of Sacrifice over here is another good one. So there's a lot of different areas, and they're all very, very good for kind of that lazy kind of farming where you're just standing and not moving too much, but you're able to get close enough to your party members that they also drop items and you're going to get value from it. Then we also have a ton of other farms, for example, like the Frozen Tundra, these ruins of Shisharon area. This is going to be really nice, especially with the event active in the area. Where is the Realm of Damnation? There we go. I was not sure why I couldn't find it, but the Hall of Punishment is the absolute best farm in the game. This is going to be the best XP. Plains of Torment is going to be right there with it, but Plains of Torment is a lot easier. The Hall of Punishment is a very confusing labyrinth, and if you don't have the group that knows how to run this farm, it will be worse than Plains of Torment, which is oftentimes why I tell people to run Plains of Torment, because it's just easier and you don't have to worry about people messing it up. Even Forest of Misery isn't bad. The area east of the Hall of Punishment waypoint is actually pretty good. Basically, Realm of Domination has the best farms in the game. 100%. Stormpoint, really there isn't anything to offer here. As far as I've seen, if you actually compare the XP in Stormpoint and the farms to a lot of the other areas, it's just not that good. Darkwood has this area over here by the Tree of Inifis, and then you have in the Ashwold Cemetery, you have the area around the statue around Ashwold's Manor, and you can even run the Queen of Seal's Tomb as an active farm as well. So there's a lot of them, but those are the ones that are kind of the ones most prominent off the top of my head. Of course, you could run, the Zakarum Graveyard. There's so many different ones that if I were to name them all, then it would take me quite some time to get through them all. I hope to make a video on this soon because I know some people have been asking for it. But that's going to be open world farming. Obviously, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to run through, go in a group of 4, get your bestiary, your monstrous assets, turn it in. That's going to give you a guaranteed legendary per day, but then also you're going to get legendary drops from the monsters in the area because you have a guaranteed one from Orange Elite, assuming you're not doing dungeons, right? So very, very, very good way to get legendary items and the best consistent way. So that's going to be open world farming. The next few are going to be either time gated or things that you can kind of do on the side while you're also doing those other activities like dungeon farming and open world farming. First one up is going to be the Gambler over here. This is something that you're going to want to do every single day, and this is why gold becomes important and why treasure hunter becomes even more important. Besides just increasing your drop rate, you're going to want to go through here and do 10 of the weapons, 10 of the armor every single day, which I will do here, and boom, we already got 1 legendary item. As far as I know, there is no guarantee that Magic Fight affects this at all. There's going to be a second one. There we go. We got 2 legendary items. Oftentimes, you're going to find that it's about a 20%, 10% to 20% drop rate for these pieces. So definitely a very, very solid way to get legendary items per day. Just going out and doing open world farming or dungeons is going to give you the gold so you can go to the Gambler and pick up some legendary items that will go ahead and progress your Essence Mastery system. And then as soon as we cap that out to level 4, I would recommend stop gambling. Next up, we have the Helliquary. Now, this is something that is absolutely insane legendary items for how quick it is. This is another thing where I said open world farming is the best, but there are a few other ways that are like one-time things or time gated. If you are running your Helliquaries every Monday and Thursday, you're exceptionally viable to go ahead and get a bunch of combat rating and also a bunch of legendary items by doing your one-time completions, right? So at least one-time completions every Monday and Thursday. Oftentimes you'll get anywhere from about 2 to 5 legendary items from this thing because each one of these bosses, especially if you're running it in a group of 8, you're going to want to run in a group of 8 because if you're not, then, well, you're not going to get the 2 bonus chests after the boss, and that will definitely drop your legendary items gains every single time you do it. So run in a group of 8, run it every Monday, Thursday, and get your legendary items in for those weeks, for the week. Next one up is going to be another one that is kind of time gated / one-time completion because you're not able to do challenge rifts until you're able to go ahead and get the combat rating for them. But then on top of that, you really just cannot do it over and over again, right? So right now I'm on 215. I can go a little bit further, but basically what you're going to want to do is go through here and do your one-time completions. Every single time, you get a giant boost in combat rating, let's say from Health 7, for example, you're going to want to come back here, do this, you're going to get your upgrades, but also you're going to get legendary items very commonly, right? If you're doing a group of 5, for example, that's usually what I do. I usually have someone, someone with 7k residence, go ahead and do like stage 250 for me. And then I'll go through and do them in groups of 5, do 220, and then, 225, and then 230, 235, 240, etc., and get my one-time completions that all get sent to my mail. This is going to be a massive boost in both XP, combat rating, and legendary items because you're going to get a bunch of one-time completions. This is going to be an amazing way to get legendary items if you haven't done your challenge rifts already. The next method is another one that's going to be either time gated or one-time completion. That's going to be events. Now, events oftentimes have very, very nice ways to get legendary items. For example, the Tongshi's gift here, if we scroll over, mystery legendary item just from going ahead and completing the game. Mystery set item here, if we continue onwards, just the 1 legendary item. So this is just going to be a natural way to get a legendary item if you're just playing the game. You have your server progress, which again, you can see here, another legendary item. So that's 2 already just from this event. But then we also have things like the fractured plane, which is going to give you a massive amount of legendary items. But there's also all sorts of different events that come around that give you legendary items. You can see from the fractured plane here, which I can't happen to scroll down. There we go. If you happen to be able to beat it within 40 minutes, which you guys saw from my previous video, you're able to go ahead and only using 1 resurrection, get set items or get legendary items in terms of 3 legendary items, as well as the 2 guaranteed from the fractured plane itself. And then also you're more than likely to get 6 legendary items total if you're able to do this in one-time completion. So that is a massive deal, especially since you're talking in the span of 40 minutes. 6 legendary items is absolutely amazing. That is so good and definitely worth taking advantage of. So you're definitely going to want to do your fractured plane. Then we have the last thing, which is the miscellaneous category. Now, there's so many different other ways to get legendary items in the game, and I can't really go through them all because, you know, there's going to be some random area. But bounties are a decent way every single day if you guys want to go ahead and pick up some legendary items. I personally don't like bounties, and I don't think, from my experience, I haven't run enough tests to say conducively, but from my experience, the bounties are significantly worse than just running a legendary open world farm in a group farm during that time. It takes too long, even though it doesn't take actually that long, and the legendary drop rate isn't high enough to reward you compared to just running like a Realm of Damnation farm, for example. Another way is going to be your clan activities. For example, if you're going to go ahead and run and do Shadow War, if you're going to do your Kyan's Ordeal and your raids for the Immortals, those types of areas are going to be a good way to get your either weekly or daily or whatever you're doing in those areas. More than often, it's going to be multiple times a week to get your legendary items, especially if you're immortal. That's going to be another way. Of course, there's the hilt trader that gives you a legendary item. There's going to be random areas in the game, like, for example, the Darkwood Tree of Innifice has a very good chance of getting you a legendary. So if you're going to do that event, gives you a legendary. Of course, the open world events like Haunted Carriage, and all those things are going to give you a good chance to get you legendary items as well. There's so many other ways, but they're all usually kind of miscellaneous, either tied behind another activity or a clan, or some other way to get a legendary item that isn't necessarily as easy or as doable as the other ones on this list. So that's going to wrap up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I know that was a lot of words, a lot of talking, but I wanted to go through and go over the best ways to get Essence Mastery and the best ways to get legendary items. Now, in the future, I might drop a video for you guys to just go over my top 10 favorite farming spots, because to be fair, after you get past the first 4 or 5 farming spots that are like the absolute best, all of the other areas in the game kind of are on that same level. They're still really good, but they're on the same level where one's not necessarily better than the other except for what you want to do, right? So I'll probably make a video on my top 10 favorite farming spots that give you guys legendary items. If you guys want to see that, be sure to sub to the channel, like this video. See you all tomorrow.